Here are some pictures and videos of Night Shift, our 1985 Liberty Eliminator. We had lots of fun with this boat. I let my fiance drive this boat, race it, my brother Mark took my dogs, my kids for rides in it. My brother took his son, my wife took her nephew. Here is Glen Dilworth and his son Joe Dilworth, the original owner of the boat. He raced this boat for approximately 15 years. There he is racing Don Moyle. Here it is after I bought it. I tried to make it a ski boat, but for some reason it always ended up back on the race course. This is Hagen Hale. He was the last driver of this boat before the incident at Burley, Idaho this last year. He drove the boat, had a lot of fun with it. I'm pretty sure he would have bought it from me until something tragic. The loader did break in this boat. As the loader broke, it stuffs the nose. This boat was such a light layup that it ended up breaking the boat into 3 pieces. The boat was actually only doing probably 70 miles an hour, but still it happened so fast that Hagen didn't even know what happened. All he knew was that he needed to swim away from the boat so it wouldn't take him down with him. We're so grateful that he walked away from this after seeing the carnage that happened. Not checking the loader was 100% my fault. We figured the loader was at least 35 years old. The recovery team was not able to locate the back half of the boat on race weekend. So Joe reached out on Facebook and borrowed a boat from a guy in Burley with a sonar. We sonared until the battery died on the sonar, and then we had to start dragging an anchor. We kept hooking something that the divers called a piece of concrete race weekend. I told Joe, put me on top of the concrete. I want to dive on it and see it for myself. There's nothing else down here. So I did, and it turns out it was the back half of my boat. We hooked a sling around the pump, brought the boat to the surface for the first time. It was bittersweet to see the back half of the boat and get the answers that we were looking for on what happened and why. Big shout out to Trent for bringing the Idaho Water Sports barge to the rescue of our boat and saving it from the Kraken. I wanted to interview my Uncle Glen on some of his fond memories of the boat, so here's some of those stories. When did you get Night Shift?
Well, 1985 in the winter, and I paid him the money deposit to build it. And the reason I was getting a new boat is we'd had the other boat crashed, and then they got the deck broke when a gal jumped on the deck and broke the deck. And so I thought, well, I'll get rid of that boat and build a new one. And so I'd come up with a name for it, and I was going to call it Phantom. Everybody's heard about it, but nobody's ever seen it. You know? And so anyway, I bought the boat, went down to get it, and when they put I bought it from Eliminator. They had bought the tooling for the boat from Jay DiGiulio from Lightning Manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
They, when they put the bulkhead in the front, they decided they were going to put a crown down the deck. And so what they did was they put a peak in the bulkhead, put it in, and it put stress on the sides. It broke the sides, both sides. And so I got there and looked at it, and when they patched it, the gel coat was the wrong color, so there's 2 spots in it that were wrong. And so they dropped $1,000 off of it And so I bought it because it only cost me $2,000, I think,
For a brand new boat.
for a brand new hull. And so I'd gathered up enough pieces to build or put another boat together. So what I did was took the parts out of my old Cheap Tricks boat and then put all the gathered up pieces into Cheap Tricks, and I put all my race parts in Night Shift. I rented the showroom of a building that used to be the Ford Motor Company here in Burley, and Lud Haight owned it, and he rented me the whole front part of it for $100 a month. And so it had south-facing windows, so all day long it would heat up.
Heat up.
And I'd go down. I was working like a swing shift. I'd come home and eat at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then go to work at 8 and work till midnight. So one night somebody come in and said, "Oh, I see you're putting night shift in," and night shift in. And I go, "Well, not really, Anyway, everybody say, "How you coming on your night shift?" And so finally, everybody started calling the boat Night Shift, and so that's how it became Night Shift. Anyway, we put the boat together, and we got it all together, and we started racing it, and it was a lot better boat than the first one. And I think it was because I'd learned a lot on how to hook up the pump and make it work, and so we changed the shoe off of the original boat I had, because that's where the intake came from. That was, I basically brought it from my first boat, then into the second boat, then into Night Shift. And so I'd put a new shoe in it, and then I did the pump again and made it better, and we started racing it, and we raced a few races with it. And one of the races we raced up to Whitefish, Montana. The first day we ran a triangle course out into the Whitefish Lake, and the next day it was so windy, and we'd put on a real good show. Well, the first day we had probably 30 or 40 spectators, and the next day we had 200 spectators, or maybe 300. And it was so rough that we went out and tested. And then the hydros and the other flat bottoms there declined to go out and race. Well, the race committee came to us and said, "Can you go race? We'd have to give all these guys the money back, if you guys don't go out and race, because they think you're the best boats they've ever seen." He says, "You're K-boats, aren't you?" And I said, "No, we're jet boats. K-boats have a blower on them." And so what they did was they took the leg out of the race course, and so we weren't running like a triangle course, we were running a circle. And they said, "Okay, to make up the difference, you can run 4 laps. Well, at the time, we were only running 3 laps. So there was Don Moyle, myself, and I think it was Kevin Austin. Now, he had jumbo jet. So we went out to race, and Don and I got the head start on Kevin, and so Don was leading. We come around for the 3rd lap. Don put his hand in the air and goes, yeah, I won. And I go, boom, right around him, and made the corner, cut him off, made the corner, and down the back straightaway I was going. And then he remembered that it was a 4-lap race instead of a 3-lap race. And so I beat him by 2 or 3 boat lengths, I think. And so the next race, he got me. But when we got to the awards banquet, we didn't know who was actually going to win because,
Right.
so they went off the times, and they said the first, for the trophies they were giving out, the first day didn't count. They said the first day didn't count because the first anniversary, or the 50th anniversary of the race was held on a Sunday. And so to make it so that it was the 50th anniversary race, they took only the times from that day. And they said, I won, and Don took second. And the time difference was 1.5 seconds, or 1.5 seconds. I was faster than Don the second heat. And so Don was mad, and we were supposed to drive with him back to Missoula, where we had hotel rooms. Well, we were late getting out of there, and so I was trying to catch him going down Flathead Lake on a 2-lane road, and I said, "This ain't good. Let's just stay in Polson." So we go into Polson, and I says, "Okay, we need a room." And he says, "How many people are your party?" And I says, "Well, it's me and my wife, and then we have 3 kids, or 4 kids. I guess it was 4 kids. I can't remember now." Anyway, the guy says, "Well, let's upgrade you." And I said, "Oh, I don't know if I can afford that." And he says, "It's only $10. And I says, "And it comes with a sauna and a hot tub in the room, and then you have the deck outside, and you have 3 beds in there, and you pull out a couple beds for the kids, and it's a honeymoon suite." I go, "Okay, we never had a real good honeymoon, so we'll take it." Just had a great night. The next day, we go over the mountain, and when we got on the road, on the freeway, headed back to where the Idaho Falls, it was packed. I mean, it was like the one lane coming north was like solid cars. And we go, "What is going on?" So we stopped at a gas station, and the gas station guy says, "Oh, Yellowstone's on fire and they closed the park." And so everybody's headed north. Anyway, we get home, and Don said, "Well, how was your night?" And I go, "Well, we gave up on trying to catch you, so we stopped at Polson. We had the honeymoon suite. Lived a good time, and had a good time." And he says, "Man, we got over there and cost us $100 for pillows and blankets."
Oh, geez.
And he said they wouldn't give me the deposit back when I gave them the blankets back.
Oh.
And so they slept on the floor or in the car, or in the pickup. So the hotel rooms were full, and so they didn't hold any of the rooms that we had rented.
Oh,
And so,
geez.
yeah, but we had a good time. That's one of my favorite trophies I got. It's a little curved white fish out of wood. It says 50th anniversary, first place. And I made $25. And I don't think there's another trophy that I like as much as that one.
Paid for the room, right?
Yeah,
Almost, yeah.
paid for the room.
Almost.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the incidences you've had in night shift. Like some of the times you went out of it. It's like the first time, and then.
Yeah, it was a pretty good boat. I've been thrown out of the seat a couple times in it. I'd never won Burley in the boat. We'd won heats, but we'd never won the whole race. And so I'd won all 3 heats that weekend. The last heat, that we ran, in the middle of the number 1 and 2 corner on the last lap, the boat jumped sideways like 20 feet.
Wow.
It just like that flew in the air. And I thought, man, I don't know what's going on. And we hit, and I made it. I made it through the corner. But then going down the back straightaway, the boat would really going from side to side, and I was having a hard time steering it. And I thought, well, just a half a lap. All I got to do is make it another half a lap. And so I go through the corner, and that was when we were running Burley tied up against the island. And so we were pretty tight, and I come around the corner, and the boat makes a real hard turn to the end, to going towards the beach and not the island. So I made it hard turn coming back, so I turned it back, and then it did it again. So I turned it harder, and when I turned it harder, the boat blew in the air like this and stuck its nose. And the water come up over, and then I left the seat.
Yeah.
And then I came out of the seat, and I was hanging on, and I just did a somersault coming up out, so I didn't hit my legs or anything. But the steering went by both legs. Steering wheel went by both legs. And then I was flying upside down like this in the air, looking back at the boat.
Oh, geez.
And the boat popped back up. So it's sitting there floating, but it's got like, I don't know, 500-600 gallons of water in it, maybe 1,000. You know, I mean, it's sitting low, and I splashed down, and then I came up, and I'm still looking back at the boat, and the sheriff come by real fast, making a wake off of this big, river boat. Wake went up over the side, ploop, the boat went down.
Oh, man.
So I was mad. Well, I'd build him a brand new basket so that, they could pick up drivers. Nobody'd ever tested it. I'm the one that tested it.
You tested your basket?
Yeah, and so I tried to talk the sheriff into buying an electric winch. They were a couple $100 back then, a small electric winch, and with a hand control on it. They the sheriff didn't want to pay for it. So I'm on the backboard. They get me into on the backboard, and then they put me in the basket. I'm laying in the basket. My feet are hanging over the end, and I says, should have made it about 2 feet longer. So anyway, they start cranking me up, and I says, I'm deaf. I can't hear very well, but I can't hear that winch clicking. You got the safety on. One of the sheriff's officers says, yeah, it's on. He's cranking it like that, and I'm not coming out of the water. And I go, hey, my feet are under the boat. They'd turn me sideways like this and crank me up. And I go, my feet are under the boat. And all of a sudden, everybody runs in the boat over like that for the other guys in the boat. The boat goes splash and dunks me. I mean, I'm on the back on this basket underwater again. And I come up spitting water out, and I said, you guys trying to drown me or what? And so, anyway, about that time, bang, it slips off, and you hear the handle swinging around, clank, 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 clank. And the one officer, oh, my wrist, And it wasn't on. And so everybody's saying, well, let me crank it. And he says, I got it. And he's cranking it up. Oh, ooh, that hurts. That hurts. And they get me in the boat, and he's complaining about his wrist. I said, maybe you better go have that checked.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it broke his wrist.
Oh, geez.
And the sheriff told me that was the most expensive winch I've ever bought. The guy had 6 weeks off because it was right hand. He couldn't draw his pistol.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then he had to do work in the office for a while. But before when he came back, but we bought a new winch to put on the boat. But I tested it out. It I think they still have it. I don't know if they use it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we dried the boat out and fired it up and ran it again. But I think it was the next day we ran it, and I did pretty good, but it didn't win Burley that
Did
year.
you drive again the weekend? Were you okay?
Yeah, I was okay. They made me pull my pants down, and I had 2 burns across my legs where I went by the steering wheel, and they put some burn ointment on it, and I was fine. My wife wasn't. She was having a heart attack.
You broke the first rule.
I didn't stay in the boat.
Didn't stay in the boat.
Then I got Summer Thunder, and I, had
He was just hanging out.
just hanging out, and I bought another motor that was a 427 on, another 427. I think that first 427 was a 427, and this one was a bigger motor on one side, if I remember right.
You telling me that.
Anyway, then I sold the boat to a friend of mine. He had it for about 8 years, something like that, and then he sold it. And then you found it on the internet.
Yeah, I found it on the Boat Drag City's website in Wenatchee, Washington.
Yeah.
And Joe and I took the trip up to get it. Yeah. And I only raced it a couple of years until I got my boat. We put the big motor in it. I had intentions of running it, my first big motor, and we let you test drive it.
Now that was a bad mistake.
That was a bad mistake. You got wet, the boat got wet.
Well, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah.
That the seat wasn't in the right spot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really feeling real comfortable in the boat, but I was having such a good time in it.
Yeah.
I made a couple passes, then I thought, I wonder how the water is on the back side of the island. And so I get on the back side of the island, it's just as smooth as glass. And that boat, I don't know, it had to be the fastest, that was as fast as the Hemi in that boat.
It was so fast. I remember.
Anyway, I warmed up, and I went by the end of the island, and I noticed a little wind squall. And then the boat started making a left-hand turn hard, and I hadn't turned it. And the next thing I knew, the boat had got up on its side so far that it caught water in the back, spit me out, and I went splash. I probably sailed a long ways. I'm sorry I tore up your boat.
That's okay. It was meant to be. It was how it was supposed to work out.
But anyway, they couldn't see me from the bank.
No,
I was trying to swim, and then I realized that my straps were attached to my legs, and I couldn't
swim.
kick. And so I'm not moving, so I thought, well, I'll just float here until somebody comes get me. And then I had the GPS right here in the strap that goes across your chest. And I tell Joe and Scott, take the GPS out. Take the GPS out, and they just reached out and pulled me in the boat.
Yeah,
and
it was Joe and Gabe, and they were hot to trot, man. Joe was in the boat and gone before we even had a chance to say anything.
Anyway, when I got in the boat, the GPS was gone, so I didn't know how fast the boat was running. But
so from the point of view from the island, the wind was a straight shot. I mean, it had that flag stood up, and was blowing. So as you come across the end of the island, it just picked the boat up.
And
Yeah, but it wasn't blowing because I was just down there 2 seconds before.
yeah, well, it was standing straight out when you passed out, or when you come out of the back of the
But
island.
I was just going to make a straight shot through there, but
yeah, it was for the
Anyway.
best. And then I decided, after when you guys put my motor in your boat and I raced it in 2019, we decided to just turn it into a ski boat, and decided it wasn't going to be a race boat, and thought we'd make a trainer boat out of it, and we thought it'd be safe for for people to just go out and learn how to drive. I mean, I put lots of people in it. It's going to play with it. I took Layla out on the lake, and we went around, and
yeah, I told you not to put a big motor in it again.
well, and that's what we kind of decided. I just wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to put it back to where it was, and then move the steering back over the side, and just go enjoy the boat. And and we to an extent we did that, and then I wanted to get people racing, so I said, well, let's make something out of it. And then I sold the 8-1 and brought the junkyard dog. We put that in it, and then Danelle raced it in Idaho Falls at the boat drags, and then we put her in it for Burley after I did the cam swap. I never could really get that motor to run very good anyways. Mark drove it like that. We took it to Parker like that.
Yeah.
We did all these things with it, and Scott drove it, and then I put Hagen in it, and it's 100% my fault. We should have pulled the loader out of it, and inspected it.
Well, after I broke the loader in mine in 18, I told everybody not to run my old loaders that were built 30.
Yeah, and that's what we determined. We determined that boat was that loader. We figure my dad helped you swap it a couple times. We figured it'd been in there for 35 years.
Yeah.
35 years, racing hard all over the country, going to different people, and then me finding the boat again and not pulling that intake is a super. That boat was super light. We thought they were 1-inch stringers, but they're actually 3/4.
Yeah.
So they were nothing there anyways.
Yeah, and
then we had some D-Lam stuff going on.
D-Lam stuff, and where it broke was right through the bolt holes where the gas pedal.
Yep.
The gas pedal mounted, and the gas pedal had never really been moved. The seat had been moved a couple times.
Yeah. When the boat stuffed the nose, if it would have had it never had a full rail kit. It only had quarter rail kits in it, just for the motor plates, and I think it might have made a difference if it would have had a full rail kit.
Full, like, I started doing full rail kits to mount
everything.
The motor, the seat, and the gas pedal all onto the rail.
It connects the whole boat together.
It connects everything together.
It's a tough lesson. We lost basically a member of our boat family. To be able to find that boat and bring it home, to have it retire where it retired, it's super sad, but I'm just grateful that Hagen was okay.
Well, had a fun life.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks for telling us some stories, and I just miss that boat, and I'm gonna miss it forever. But
Well, I know it was real important to you, because I think that's the only boat you really remembered that I raced. And,
Well, I remember graduating high school, and you telling me that we could put this motor together and you can have this boat, and we'll go racing. And I was like, yeah, I'd love that. And then I moved to Wyoming, and I was in Wyoming forever, and I just missed it so much, and I had to get back in it. And if it wasn't for Dave kicking me in the butt and telling me to go get that boat, I probably would have never went and got a boat. I probably wouldn't be where I'm at now, and I probably wouldn't be racing. But everything, if it wasn't for that boat, I wouldn't be racing. I made one race season with Daddy's Lemon, and it hooked me. Passing Craig on the outside, going around the corner in a slow boat, you know, I'm doing, I think 74 miles an hour is what we ended up doing that weekend, and I passed Craig, and it just hook, line, and sinkered me.
I'm glad you started racing and having the success you are at it.
Yeah.